let's do a little compare and contrast between some key aspects of patriarchy versus matriarchy. Hi, I'm Katie McDonald, the founder of Build the Matriarchy, and I want to clear up some misunderstanding about these concepts. A lot of times people misunderstand and think that matriarchy and patriarchy are identical systems, identical structures. It's just one side is men controlling things and the other side is women controlling things. But that's not true. And how do we know that? Well, look at how men and women, by and large, are very different in how they approach leadership, societal structures, interpersonal relationships, all of that. So if you thought about it for a little bit longer than a second, you probably start to realize that these two concepts are not at all similar. So let's do a little compare and contrast. On the patriarchy side, we see things like controlling behavior. Now, sometimes we think being in control of something or having control over something is a good thing, and it can be. I'm not saying that having no control at all is a good thing, or having, a ton of control is a good thing. Either way, patriarchy tends to see itself as kind of a position of somebody smarter than everybody else in the room, and therefore they should have the authority to control the rules, the procedures, the methods by which we function as a society. Versus a matriarchy is more about empowering others to step up into places of leadership, empowering everyone to see what skills and capabilities they have, to show everyone that they have an ability to participate and contribute to society, and that their voice is valuable and needs to be heard. And we don't necessarily have to have this perspective that in order for society to be functional, we need to control everyone and everything. Another aspect is, where is power sort of situated? In patriarchy, it's very centralized in the sense that usually there's one or two or a handful of people at the top of the food chain who are in charge, and they're delegating authority down to ranks below them. So power is very centralized. It's very focused on individuals or small groups. Whereas in matriarchy, the power is distributed. We see that people at all different stages of life, walks of life, types of skills, all of that stuff have the ability to tap into their own power, to share that with others, to help their community in some way, to help the people around them grow, to grow themselves. So power is more distributed in a matriarchal structure. In a patriarchal structure, it's more of an us versus them mentality, in that they can have some exclusivity. So groups that are in groups and everyone else is the out group. It can lead to a sense of superiority in some of those groups, that some people are smarter, better, faster, stronger, whatever, and that everyone else is sort of, clamoring to measure up to that standard. Whereas in the matriarchal structure, it's more inclusive. The welcoming arms of matriarchy is that everyone's involved, everyone is valuable in their own way, and has something to contribute. We try to not have out groups, that everyone's in the in group in matriarchy. In patriarchy, we tend to see role-based societies, so very much into gender roles, into titles, into positions that give you authority, and that you can stand behind and say, I wear this tag and this means I am somebody. Very role-based, usually pretty rigidly defined and pretty rigidly enforced. Whereas in matriarchy, we're more skill-based. We don't really care what your role is. We don't really care what your title is. We care more about, what are you able to do? What are you interested in doing? How do you want to contribute? What do you want to learn? What do you want to teach? Another aspect is, how do we get people to get on board with our ideas? In a patriarchy, it can tend to be a bit coercive. We may see people blackmailing each other, or holding really strict negotiations, like, you give me that and I'll give you this, and a lot of pressure put on people, a lot of treaties that have to be signed and agreements that we have to come to where it feels like somebody's a loser. It often doesn't feel like it's a win-win situation. It's a win-lose, that kind of thing. So a little bit more coercive approach to getting people on board. Whereas in a matriarchy, it's more persuasive. So we have a good argument to say why we want you on board. We want people to be bought in because they want to be, not because they're feeling pressured financially or emotionally or spiritually. They are buying into the idea because they've been fully persuaded that it's a good idea. And last, for now, is competitive versus cooperative. On the patriarchy side, we see the world as everybody's like going after the same prize, right? There's only one winner, or there's only a handful of winners, and so we're all clamoring for that opportunity. So we fight each other for it. We maybe cheat and lie and steal to get there. We will, win at all costs kind of perspective. Very competitive with ourselves, with each other, with other nations, etc. Whereas in a matriarchy, we're more concerned about being cooperative. We want to collaborate. We want to share resources. We don't see everything as a competition. We see when someone else is really great at something, we're like, yes, let's tap into that and use that, rather than how can I be better at that than them. We see that as an opportunity for connection, for building community, and for really positive shared outcomes. So those are some key differences between patriarchy and matriarchy. So now you've watched all that and you think, but I know men who act more like a matriarchy when they're in leadership roles. And I know women who act more like patriarchy. Yeah, exactly. That's why the titles aren't exactly like, this is how all men function, this is how all women function. That's why in a patriarchal society, we still have women who participate. Some of them attempt to bring in some of these matriarchal perspectives, and some of them go right along with patriarchal perspectives, and vice versa. So it's not really gender-based, it's philosophically different. I hope that helps.